Hi everybody, this is Craig Tanner for The Mindful Eye and the Daily Critique. I'm going to do another self-critique today. I posted this image to my blog at Light Diary, got some interesting feedback that motivated me to want to create another self-critique. I shot this image at a location called Upper Emerald Pools in Zion National Park. I had a few days off after teaching a week-long workshop in Zion, did some personal shooting. This is one of the images that I created. I want to take this chance to say a big thank you to all the people who participated in that workshop. So let's get right into the critique, talk about what I like first. What really motivated me to take this picture was this side light. I was already shooting in the location, but I framed this shot based on the side light that's coming in here in the water, hitting in here. We're not seeing the reality of it because it's behind the rock, but real dramatic side light on the sort of leading edge of these trees in the scene. And I love the way it's more subtle, the way light is playing out on the trees that we can see in the image. The other thing that I like about this image is the square crop and how it's emphasizing a real basic element of design that can make things sort of dynamic, and that is the feeling in this image with that centered high contrast rock and these other implied visual pathways of the cross-hatching of diagonals in the image. I'm also enjoying the difference between the dynamic greens and the dynamic oranges, and I also like the way from this camera position these cottonwoods appear to wrap around and rhyme one of the main ideas in the image. So what was the feedback that I got that motivated me to want to do a self-critique? People generally didn't like this shot. A couple of people came in and made specific comments, and they both said the same thing. Flo said, I don't like this as a subject. It's overwhelming. I look at it and initially I didn't even know what this was. This changes so much because of the quality of light. Flo said that this seemed completely incongruent in the image and out of place. And Tim came in and totally agreed with Flo. He said, I get what this is. I get that it's probably low light in a specular way reflecting off of this rock, but it almost looks like science fiction or metallic. And in the context of an image where everything else seems very real, where rock seems like rock and tree seems like tree and water like water, with this being very high contrast, being right in the middle of the image and seeming surreal, it just overwhelms the rest of the whole shot. And in addition to those two bits of feedback, you might think, well, that's just two people. It's two people that give me feedback a lot of times. So a big part of what this presentation is about today is becoming a better editor of your work and also doing a better job of getting more out of the feedback process. One of the things about feedback that is true for me big time is who is giving me the feedback. Is it somebody that's very familiar with my work? Are they familiar with the kind of work that I do? And are they a trusted person in terms of being honest with me and giving me what I think is a good combination of support, but also just honest about how they feel about the image? And Flo and Tim both fit into that category, but there's something else that's even more important. On a blog, you might get a lot of traffic. I get somewhere around 600 or 700 hits a day, depending on what's going on in the Mindful Eye or whether I've posted a vidcast, so on and so forth. Very few people comment. That's just the nature of a blog. But what I can do is check my site statistics and see how many people click on a given image. That's called a page view. And in addition to Flo and Tim sort of not liking this and saying they didn't, this image got very few page views relative to what images that resonate with people get. So all that leads me to think this is not working on average. So you might think, okay, Craig, so did you not recognize this was an issue? So another thing that I want to talk about today relative to feedback and becoming a better editor of your own work is how a very heightened experience when we're taking pictures can sort of bias us towards either really liking an image or maybe pushing it more than we should or choosing it when there are other images that might be better. And boy, this is a classic example of that very kind of thing. I'm an introvert. I love teaching, I love being around people, but I'm naturally introverted, so that's draining to me, and I need solitude to recharge. And sort of my comfort and recharge is being by myself, and particularly being by myself in nature. And so I got up the first morning after the workshop, hiked into this location in the dark, had 2 hours at this location before any other hikers got there. That was amazing. The soundscape of this place is absolutely incredible. It's high canyon walls, a very sort of kind of grotto-like box canyon, so there's a lot of natural reverb. That was magical. And I was behind this rock for about an hour. I never thought the sun was going to come into this location in the winter at all in a direct way. And because I was behind the rock, I didn't see the sun starting to work its way around the canyon wall, a little opening. And so this side light that happened all of a sudden was very dramatic. All those things made me really want to try and transfer all those feelings to the viewer. And this sort of takes this idea even further. This was the raw file that I worked with. You can see that it's terrible. Part of the reason why I cropped it was that after the fact, it just turned out that this really didn't balance with anything else in the image. And I had a huge problem with color in a lot of these shots, with all the reflected red sort of just polluting overall colors. So it took a lot of work to clean all that up. And you know, you can tell from looking at these two that that's a lot of work in Photoshop. So it's not just that I chose the image, it's that I ended up spending a lot of time on it in Photoshop and then ended up posting it to my blog. And then people don't like it. You know, so what do? It's completely relative to what it is that you're trying to say and what it is that you're trying to accomplish with your pictures. And if the overall feeling of peace or calm or beauty is being taken away by a visual design element in this picture, then hopefully what I do is I learn from it. And I don't continue to show this image to people and then pitch a temper fit or go crazy or spend 42 years on my blog making the same point every day about not liking feedback about a certain type of image. Hopefully what I do is I work with the information to accomplish the real work, which is to actually grow as a photographer. It's not about each individual image, it's more about, am I making progress? And I can make more progress if I can wear two hats. One, I can be completely emotionally invested and be totally into it. But then when I need to, I can put on another hat and step back and go, okay, now is the time for me to step back and listen. If I was trying to say this about an image that I had all this emotional investment in, but it's not being transferred, then how did I miss the mark? What could I do in the future to do a better job of transferring the feeling, and so on and so forth? And I did take a variation of this image, and this got better comments and a heck of a lot more page views, and I shot it right after I took the first image. And there are, so from a practical standpoint now, to make this more practical, there are a couple of things that are helping this to work better. Number one, I've gone away from the literal so much. I don't have this big visual sea level in the image where people can sort of start to potentially compare the real and the unreal. The other thing that's true about this image is that now my high contrast, very heavily weighted graphic is much more of an exciting shape, and instead of not going with the other things in the image, it harmonizes or rhymes a lot of the dominant feelings of shape in this image. The star effect has rhymed by all these feelings of real strong, obtuse, pointy triangles in so many different places in this image, and the quality of light over here in the opening in the canyon that the sun is coming through, over here in these leaves, and so on and so forth. And so the idea of going away from the literal and understanding how powerful high contrast is, and having a subject like that work with other things in the image ends up working better. Would love to hear your thoughts about how feedback affects you, and what it is you're trying to say in your images. Love to hear your thoughts about how emotional investment in an image might bias you to, let's say, choose images that don't work so much, or continue to push an image that's not working in the feedback loop. All those things to me are really fascinating, and I think they're things that can really help us, if we think through them and we're aware of them, become better communicators. And want to say a big thank you to being here with us on the Mindful Eyes Daily Critique. Hope to see you tomorrow, everybody.